I will show you optimized settings to increase Gothic 1 Remake's performance by around 215%. And these settings will also lower VRAM usage by 4GB as well. Gothic 1 Remake offers a decent number of graphics options to tweak. However, performance will be terrible no matter what, as the game suffers from unstable frame times and constant stuttering in cinematics and gameplay. And I'm not just talking about shader compilation stutter. This is the kind of stuttering that happens all the time on specific actions. Let's take a look at the CPU performance. And unfortunately, it looks like CPU performance is below what is expected. On an R5 3600X using CPU intensive settings, performance drops to the 30s, and I found that when CPU limited, stuttering increases and becomes even more obvious. And with that, the 1% lows drop even further, sometimes halting the game noticeably. It's one thing to have low CPU performance, but to also have constant stuttering alongside it is unacceptable. So don't expect to target high frame rates or even have a smooth experience with this game, even on high-end hardware. Now let's take a look at upscaling. Native TAA and XeSS have the softest image quality, while FSR is one step better. Then comes TSR, and then DLSS with the best image clarity. However, it looks like all methods have visual issues, and even in motion, they all have trouble reconstructing the image. Performance-wise, FSR performs the best, while the rest perform similarly. DLSS 4.5 offers the most stable image quality, so I recommend it if your GPU supports it. View distance is straightforward, however, only the high option seems to have a noticeable improvement, as the difference the rest of the options make is subtle. Performance-wise, high costs 5%, while the higher options don't seem to make a difference in this scene, but they might make a difference in other scenes, so I recommend high for the best balance. Shadows look like they have slightly better definition with each option, but the difference is very subtle. While shadows on low barely move, it might be a bug. Looking at distant shadows, low has unstable shadows, while the higher options seem to look the same. Performance-wise, shadows can impact performance a lot on the higher options, so I recommend going with medium for basically no performance impact and no noticeable quality difference during gameplay. Global illumination on low looks flat, while medium makes an improvement. High offers a slight improvement, while Gothic and Alchema Overdose make noticeable improvements. However, they come with a pretty significant cost to performance. I recommend using high for the best balance, and if you have spare performance, feel free to use Gothic. The reflection setting doesn't seem to affect water surfaces, and as this game is set in a medieval setting, there aren't really many things that this setting can affect. Low and medium have unstable reflections. High is an improvement, while Gothic and Alchema Overdose have perfectly stable reflections, but as expected, they come with a cost, so I recommend using high for the best balance. Post-processing mainly affects depth of field, as it is disabled on the lower settings. Go with Gothic for this one. Texture quality makes a noticeable impact on each option. Avoid using low or medium as they have quite low-res textures, and only on high do they start looking acceptable. Gothic makes a small improvement, while the experimental Alchema Overdose option makes a large improvement. But as it is an experimental setting, and through testing, I found that over time it tends to use way higher VRAM than Gothic. I recommend using Gothic, especially if you are low on VRAM, but feel free to use Alchema Overdose if you have spare VRAM. For effects quality, avoid using low or medium as they have a major impact to their quality. In this dome effect, they look low res and distracting, while on high, they start looking like they should. This setting also affects things like rain density, but be careful as the higher options can impact performance measurably. I recommend using high for the best balance. Foliage quality increases the density of foliage with each option, and thankfully, the performance impact is negligible. Therefore, I recommend using Gothic. Shading quality improves the materials on meshes. Medium starts enabling blending, which makes meshes look rounded and believable, while the rest of the options don't seem to make a noticeable difference. The performance impact seems to be small on medium, while the rest of the options perform the same. I recommend using Gothic here. Landscape quality on medium enables rolling fog clouds, while the other options gradually improve distant landscape models, like the trees for example. Performance can drop a bit on the higher options, so I recommend using high for the best balance. As for wind quality, I tested many scenes and I wasn't able to tell what this setting did, and it had no impact on performance either. The result is inconclusive on this one. It may even be broken. Here are the optimized settings, and I would like to thank my Patreon supporters for helping keeping this channel active. Thank you for your support. It is greatly appreciated. Now let's get into the comparisons. The game on the experimental Alkima Overdose preset is stupidly demanding, averaging 11 FPS on native 1440p, while the standard very high preset Gothic is twice as performant, while also using considerably less VRAM. Using the optimized settings, still at native 1440p, improves performance by around 35%, and VRAM usage dropped by around 1 gig from Gothic. Turning on DLSS quality improves performance by a further 45%. Now we are averaging in the mid-40s, and VRAM usage further dropped by almost 1 GB, and it is at this point that we can sometimes notice moments where the CPU starts to become the bottleneck. Overall, this game is unoptimized and is stupidly demanding. It uses expensive graphical features, while the base art style itself is not up to the same standard, resulting in a clash. What do you guys think?